Hello everyone, so I'm down on the allotment and I'm on a tidying mission this morning. So lots of weeding and just tidying up and just getting ready for winter really. So this area here, Vince trimmed down when we were doing the edging the allotment plot with the wood last week. So he trimmed this down because we didn't want it to go to seed. That was the green manure and the borage that we had in there. So a lot of it's cut back, so I'm going to remove it all and cut down anything that's still in there and then just put that on the compost, and I'll probably just put another green manure on there. It did grow really quickly, and because we had such hot weather, but we didn't want it to go to seed, so I'm going to cut all that down, put it in the compost and sow another lot. Then I'm going to be sorting out these beds here. So this was the corn. I'm going to cut all that down to the ground. These haven't dried, my French beans. I think that was because it's just been so wet. So I'm going to take them off and see if I can dry some of them at home. And I'll probably just put some green manure on here as well. I've got two beds here which have got just the remnants of some dwarf French beans and some beetroot in there, so that's all going to come up, and I'll probably do some broad beans in there. I'm going to start some broad beans straight off into these raised beds, one of the raised beds, and then I'm going to do some at home as well in the greenhouse, so that we've got I'm hedging my bets a bit to make sure that we get some for next year. These beds have got the garlic in, and then I've got my rocket and kale there, which is doing really well, and my asparagus bed, which I started off this year, and I've got my spring cabbage in here, and they're all doing fine, so I'm just going to leave them. But that's the tidying up outside. Inside the polytunnel, my garlic is coming up in this area, so it needs a really good weed around there. So what I'm going to do is where the garlic is, I'm going to leave obviously those, and then I'm just going to weed this area. This bed needs a little tiny bit of a weed, but the kale's still doing really well, the coriander, parsley, the rocket at the end, and the chard, so a little bit of a weed in there. Where I sowed some foxgloves, I need to transplant them out actually, because they're ready. I can transplant some of these out, get ready for planting next year. But I think I might have to do that next time I come down, because I haven't bought anything to take them home in. But that's definitely a job that needs doing. And that's probably going to be about it. So real tidy up. Okay, so these two beds where the green manure was, I've just taken up all the large bits, the large stems of borage and things like that. It's really wet. I didn't realise how wet it was, so it's quite boggy on these two areas. So I think what I'm going to do is wait for it to dry a bit to do the rest of the weeding, and then go from there, because it is absolutely so soggy. We've had so much rain. So next step, I'm going to go on to where the sweet corn was, and clear that bed with all the weeds, try and save some of the seeds from the French beans, and then I'll sow a green manure onto there. Okay, so the sweet corn's cleared, the French beans are cleared, the frame that it was on was cleared, so that's good. I've done the basic weeding. I've just got rid of anything that was growing in there. And now I'm just going to sow some green manure seeds, just so that something's growing on there over winter. Okay, you don't need much of the green manure, so hopefully some of that germinates and something's growing there over winter to hold the structure of the soil. Okay, so next job, I'm going to clear this bed here and sow some broad beans directly into that one. Okay, so I've got my broad bean seeds all on my raised bed, and now I'm just going to pop them in about 2 inches down, and then they should germinate in a couple of weeks. Okay, so that's my broad beans in. So now I'm going to go into the polytunnel and try and weed around the garlic as much as I can, and then that'll probably be it for today. So I've just weeded around where the actual garlic has come up. So I've only got 4 come up. So I've got one here, I've got one there, I've got quite a large one there. I don't know if you can see that. And I've got one this side, just here. So what I've done, I've just had a weed around the actual bulbs because I still haven't come down here and put a layer of compost on this area. So I think I'm going to try and come and do that tomorrow. And what I'll do is I'll give that a proper weed then. I might even just cover some of the areas with some cardboard and then do that just beside the rows where I planted the cardboard, just because it is quite weedy in here. My cabbages have had a disaster. My spare cabbages that I thought, oh, I'll plant in the polytunnel, I moved the protective sheeting that I had over it and they've all been eaten. So that was one, that was another one. You can't even see where the other ones were, so my spare cabbages are no more, but not to worry. But the ones I actually did plant outside are doing really well, so I'm really pleased with that. I think that's it for today actually. I'm really pleased what we've managed to do. So weeded around the garlic, but another job for tomorrow. I'm going to do the foxgloves then as well, so I need to take out a few of those that are doing really well and pot them up and keep them in the greenhouse over winter to plant out next year. I've managed to plant some broad beans, which I'm really pleased about, so they've now been started in there. There's some green manure over that bed where the sweet corn was, so I'm really pleased with that as well. And then these 2 beds, I've actually cleared all of the stuff that Vince trimmed down, so that's now clear. There is a lot of grass growing and things, but it's so boggy over there. I'm going to have to wait for a bit of a drier day to tackle that. But overall, really pleased with my little tidy. It is getting there, getting ready for winter. But little and often, I think that's how I've been going, and it seems to have been working. So that's how I'm going to keep going. But thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you again soon.